We can edit
Sure.
out whatever we don't want to use. Yeah, as soon as I pressed go on Zoom, my missus started watching. She's doing a webinar inside, so she's linked up to the TV and she's sitting there with this massive TV on, doing this webinar. Going, I'm like, I've got no internet outside. Yeah,
Brilliant. Brilliant. No, it's always the way. The one time you want to do something is like internet or something just goes. It happens to me all the time in here. Something important. They're like, can you give me 10 minutes to go fix the box? It's like,
when you're teaching and you just sit there, I do this sometimes every now and then with a student. I just sit there and go, just please.
big freeze, which is like, yeah, just to really freak them out. Brilliant.
Oh,
Brilliant.
I'm going to say cheers.
I'm gonna say cheers to.
Easy on this. I've already had like half a glass already, so
I've had like maybe a sip or two sips out of it, so yeah, yeah.
just don't ask me to play anything. I cannot play a note when I've.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, right? When I see some players who get on stage and they can have drink in them and play pretty well.
Yeah,
When I start drinking on stage, my hands just seem to turn to jelly. It's just like what? It's like what you do? So just, and then the other problem I have is I need to go to the toilet every 5 minutes.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like you stand on stage crossing your legs, and it's like it's not very rock and roll.
It's not. I mean, I didn't start. I was completely teetotal till I turned 40. I didn't drink ever,
Hmm.
and I definitely have caught up since a bit. But I do remember doing a gig, and it was just an acoustic trio gig, bass, acoustic guitar, and a vocalist. And it was not. It was just after Prince passed away. So what's that? 5 years ago, I think. Think so.
Something like that.
And I was playing. I was fine, but people kept on bringing me um, Jaeger, shots of Jaeger,
Yeah.
which I was just downing, and I was absolutely fine. I got through the set, but I was sitting down, and then I finished playing, finished the set, and then had to stand up, and my other half literally had to carry me out of the building. It was not a good look, and but I was playing okay. As soon as I stopped playing, it was almost like it hit me, and I was absolutely useless.
Yeah, I can only ever remember one other time, playing with a lot of kind of alcohol in me, and I remember there's a thing in Cork called the Cork Jazz Festival in
Yeah,
Ireland.
I think no, I haven't played. I may have played that.
Possibly, it's really just a big piss up.
Yes, I seem to remember it.
some some music on the side, So, but it was. Oh, I remember going down. This is like 2 years ago. I was in my 20s, and
Yeah,
it got so it was so bad. This is how bad it was. I jumped into a taxi, right, and I said, I think the club was called the FX Club or something. A mate of mine's band was playing there, and I said, "Take me to the FX Club." The taxi driver just goes, "It's just right there, mate."
right.
So in one door, out the other, and crawled into the place, and but by this stage, I couldn't barely walk, and I still had a gig to do,
Oh, and that was before you played. Wow.
and
Oh,
that was the last time I ever did that. I was like, because I remember the gig going, I can't even play the guitar. Which guitar do you play here? It's like,
you're like, there's something wrong here.
is this a double neck?
Yeah,
What's going on?
yeah. It's either that or you think you sound amazing. You're playing, you're like, yeah, I'm great. Yeah.
Oh, I remember that night. I definitely didn't feel like it was amazing. I was going, when's this over? Help. But the only saving grace was, right, the rest of the guys in the band were pretty much in the same state I was.
Right.
So God help the people who was listening to it. I was like going,
It was normal. I can't fathom how people can play like that. Play in any in any kind of state other than sober. I just can't. I can't imagine it. There's a great. Have you ever heard of? I can mention it because he posted it up. But there's a great guitar player in Nashville called Derek Wells. Have you heard of him?
No.
He posted something up on his Insta, like something that was from way back, I think, of him playing in a club somewhere, and he's literally like falling into the wall. He's just like his head is on this pillar of this club, just like and he's just sort of like leaning on it, and
Yeah.
he was like, obviously, I think he said something like, this is me, not in a good way or something like that, but he still sounded pretty good. He sounded all right to me, but oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I have a big memory of seeing Mr. Lukather somewhere,
yeah.
when he was. I know he's teetotal now and he's in a lot better, shape now. But I remember watching some gig where he was hammered and I didn't even know he was hammered. I was still standing there going,
Yeah, yeah.
I hate you, And then I realized he was drinking pints of Jack Daniels.
I I I only met him once, and it was when we were doing a gig over in Denmark, and he was on, and I think this was before he'd sort of sobered up, and he was playing incredibly well. I've always been a huge fan of his anyway, but I didn't really realize. I think this was even before I was drinking. I don't think I was drinking at that point, but I I just couldn't. I couldn't. If that's what he was like back then, and I read his book and I kind of heard lots of things about him. And I know that must be, quite upsetting for him to sort of know that that's out there. But he was so good. He was incredible,
No, he's
incredible.
that annoys me with certain players. They can do that, and I'm like, but in all reality, I'm I'm probably better off not drinking wine,
Yeah, me too.
because because in the day, it's like I suppose the way you look at it, you don't really want to get that reputation of being, oh, that's your man. He's great when he's sober. Yeah,
No, you don't. I'd never drink. I mean, that time I mentioned, that was the only time I've done it um, during a gig. But I would never drink, during playing. I can't. It's just I don't think I could get through the gig. Even after one glass, I don't think I could get through the gig.
no, but I just find it's a matter of well, it's basically being a professional in the music industry. You just have to it's you see if you're drinking for your fun time at home whenever you're not working, and there, it's weird because over here in Ireland, drinking is a big thing.
Hmm.
And a lot of musicians fall into that trap of doing it, and a lot of great musicians start out at a level that's really good, and then after years and years of just drinking, it just
Takes its toll. Yeah.
and it's sad. It's very sad because I see a lot of these guys and they're incredible musicians and they just fall to the wayside because of just drink.
Yeah.
So and I always said to myself, I am not going to be one of those people.
No. No. I mean, I know we've probably seen it. I've seen it in people as well, where people drink because they think that's what they need to do to get into the state to play, and it just isn't. Just doesn't work, and you definitely do get a reputation for doing that, and people tend to stay away from that,
Yeah.
especially in our game. But yeah, but saying that, we've just spoken about drinking for the last 10.
Drinking for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's
Chris.
to admit this year with the year that we've all just had, especially because obviously it started at the end of March, and the weather being so good. Um, I'm in a little log cabin down the end of my garden, and it would get to sort of about 3 o'clock. I'd be working in here, and this year I sort of a music colleague of mine, we put together a little chill out album. Just he's a producer that does that kind of stuff, and we sort of did some nice chill out stuff, and my other half, it got to about sort of 3:30, 4 o'clock, and because the weather was so nice, she would come down with a nice gin and tonic, which meant work's over. There's no more playing to be done. Maybe a bit of listening, but yeah, that sort of crept into a daily thing because the weather was so nice, and we're just stuck at home, and you can't go anywhere. But
I suppose it's the current situation we all live in is this crazy world at the minute, and you take comfort in all the little small things because we can't go out, can't do anything. It's fair enough. So, but yeah, it's the weather it gets me too. I was exactly the same as you last year over here, like in Northern Ireland. Weather is always a big
it's not good.
sucks. Like it's constantly raining and constantly cold. But last year, the start of lockdown, it was just 35 degrees outside. I was like, bring on the lockdown. I love this.
It was. I mean, all the tragedy aside, it was like a little. I suppose for us, I don't know about you, but this is the longest I've been home ever. I've not. We're usually out on the road. We're usually traveling around. It was almost like a little break, which is now
Yeah,
a little bit boring. But
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's the same with me. Must be the longest in, I don't know, 25 years that I've
yeah,
been at home.
yeah.
You know,
Did
at
you
least at least.
did you hit a stage? Because I started to get. I mean, it was probably about October time, sort of September, October time last year that I started to get really digi, really a little bit strange, sort of. And I didn't understand what it was. I was kind of a bit snippy and a little bit like I just wanted to get out of the house for any reason at all. Not to go and socialize, but just to go and walk. Luckily I live right next to some fields. And I kind of, it was only when my other half said, "You've never been home. You've not been around for this length of time ever. You're used to going, you're home for 2 weeks and then you're off again." Did you have that as well, where you sort of had a bit of a freak out?
A little bit, yeah. I'm the sort of person I can't sit around and do nothing. So I last year I kind of just I said to myself, right, I have to do stuff no matter what. If it was in here, and I set myself little projects to do, like I did an instrumental project and
Yeah.
everything like that, and I just wanted to keep busy because I knew that thing you're talking about would kick in quite soon, and yeah, once I'd finished everything about November time, December time, I was like, okay, right,
Yeah.
where's the gigs? No, and I remember saying to my wife, like my wife would go like within her bubble. She has a friend who lives close by, and they would go for walks maybe every Wednesday or something with the kids.
Mhm.
I'd her, can I come? you know, sit with the girls.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to get out of the house. Anything. And
Yeah.
but I'm very lucky too, because where see yourself. I live kind of in the countryside, so there's lots of like forest parks and stuff all around me. So I literally get on the bike and then just take the kids out for a cycle and all that.
You're out there, and of course you're dealing with the homeschooling as well at the moment, and
Well, to be honest, I'm kind of lucky. I kind of dodged that one a little bit. I do. I only do like say Tuesday and a Friday, and Friday is really just and school would just play all day. So they get a little bit of work. So my wife she does Wednesdays and Thursdays because she's off. So it's like
Mhm.
urgent major Wednesdays and Thursdays for the kids, and then because Monday morning I generally teach a lot. So, but we have my sister-in-law comes and look after her kids in the morning. So she does all the schoolwork then. So I come like, all right, how's it going? How's the schoolwork done? They're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm looking forward to doing it with you.
Yeah, sadly I had another 4 hours of lessons. Sorry, I just whilst you're just sat in the room rocking backwards and forwards.
Curtains closed, watching YouTube. you know, just sitting there, just watching stuff. Yeah, it's something. You know what? It's yeah, the joys. But it's the thing with the homeschooling is what gets me is like You're doing some of your, your 7-year-olds, maths, problems, and you're going,
I have no idea, mate. Tell me about it. I have my daughter. Whenever she sort of told me about one of the questions she has at school, she's like 13 at the moment, but no idea. I have no idea what they're talking about. I have no idea how I got here. Because if I needed to know that stuff, how did
no,
how did I make it this far? Yeah,
it's a different, we're just a different breed of people. I think, because all that stuff, like my son does stuff.
yeah,
He do kind of like I can't even remember what it's called. That's how dumb I am. I can't remember what it's called, right? And then, but it was like all these different shapes. I think it's quite popular in Chinese education, but it's not like origami or something like that. But it's all these different shapes, and they have to make these figures out of these like 4 or 5 shapes.
yeah,
And, I don't know. And my son was just going, yeah, it's just that. Yeah, that's what I would have done. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah, I don't know what it was called. It was something. I don't know. Anyway, I think I blanked it out of my mind as I do with most educational stuff.
I'm just going. So, in relation to that, slightly, I'm going to ask: do you read? Are you a reader? Can you sight read, or are you a good music reader?
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say if somebody set some piece of music in front of me, I could read it, but read it and play it. Yeah, I haven't done it in years. The thing is with my career, it's taken me down a path where I haven't had to use it, haven't had to
Yeah,
use that knowledge. So, and you know what it's like if you're, 25 years down the road and haven't done it,
yeah,
you forgot it. It's not that I forget. I can read it, as I said. I know what
yeah,
everything does, and that, but it would take me a while. Like the last reading gig I did was about 10 years ago, and I think it was Jesus Christ Superstar. It was
mm,
um, just in Belfast, and it's not the easiest of gigs for guitar, because it's all stuff. And so but I said to the guy, the conductor, and I says, look, here's the thing, I can read, I don't do it all the time, so can you, as soon as you can get me, the sheet music and whatnot, I will actually go away and basically learn it,
yeah,
So
yeah,
um, like chord charts and all that thing's fine because I do that all the time. Any sort of sessions, people just throw a chord chart, or even if it's some sort of corporate gig or what, you go and I bring the iPad, just play along.
you can get through it. Yeah, yeah. I'm very similar. I have this because going back to the school thing, I have this thing that if I'm presented with something, I immediately go into panic mode. So,
Okay.
so if that's a maths equation, my brain isn't thinking about, especially when there's other people in the room. My brain doesn't think, how do I solve this problem, or how do I read these notes? So I can read, but I'm not. I'm probably similar to you. I can read, but I would prefer to prepare, and but I go into this panic mode of, oh no, people are going to find out that I can't do this. And it's the same with maths. Whereas if I'm on my own and there's something to work out or something to read, I can do it really quickly. It's almost like my brain just is relaxed.
Yeah.
Soon as there's anyone else around, I'm kind of aware of they must be thinking, why isn't he just doing this straight away? You know, um,
Yeah.
I have that a little bit. I go into a bit of panic.
I
So
suppose it's like I suppose it's like the old red light syndrome in the studio. You play it perfectly, and then as soon as the red button is like,
yeah, yeah,
plus perfectly. It never works. And
mm,
yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah, it's the panic thing sets in a lot. That's why probably not just yourself, but everybody.
yeah. A lot of people probably get it. I know. I mean, I know. Guitarist Adam Goldsmith. I don't know if you know Adam at all, but he's an amazing reader. He just reads really well and sort of breathes life into it. You know, when he's playing, it sounds like music when he's kind of played something. But it's just a skill that I wish I had, but I completely understand. You have to work at it. You can't. I never get to do it. Very rarely. There might be the odd session where they'll send in some notation for me to play, but then I've got the opportunity to sit and go through it before I press record. You know, it's not like back in the '60s where you're placed a bit of music in front of you and they're pressing record, and you'll be found out very quickly if you can't do it.
Yeah, we live in a different time. So I think that, like, if you were in the 50s or 60s, you go into the studio, you nail it down, one take, that was it, because it didn't have the facilities to take after take after take. Now, Pro Tools Logic, you can do 2 million takes.
Yeah, yeah. When when you were, because obviously we both worked with Don Airey.
That's when the panic button kicks in. You're going for like, oh shit,
I re
what songs you gonna?
I remember I think it was the second album I did with him, and he'd done a reworking of Difficult to Cure, um,
Yes.
and he just called it Difficult to Play, and it was about 7 sheets, and he didn't put any notes because he knows I can't read. He just wrote on the manuscript, "Good luck."
Yeah, that sounds like Dawn. Yeah, I think I might have played on the same record.
Yes, I do believe we were on the same record.
Might even played on the same song.
We did. There was a few things that we played on the same things together.
No, but
He's just an incredible. I mean, I feel really lucky to have been able to play with him. And I knew him since I was about 17, but he's done so much for me. Not coming from that world, that sort of rock world, he sort of taught me a lot about stepping up, and
yeah,
you better deliver. And it does. I never got the thing that it was about it was never about the chops that I felt. It was more about the energy that you gave when you're playing.
I, I totally get that. I got the same thing as soon as when the first time I went to play with Dawn, and I remember like I was very nervous at the time because Gary Moore is a huge influence on me, and I walk into this room and you have you know Dawn, obviously he played with Gary and lots of stuff, and then you have Lawrence Cottle who's played with Gary, and then look over there's Darren Mooney.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was like, but I remember the first song straight in. It was like, bang,
yeah, yeah,
right? Just go, and it was like no let up at all.
yeah,
And so I totally 100% get what you're talking about there with Don. It's that old school way of thinking. It's right. There's no 100%. It's 110% all night.
yes, yeah.
And I'm sure you got this too, but I know if you're not giving it your full, he's looking at you going, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Come on, where are you? Yeah.
In a nice way. He's lovely. He wouldn't, but he's like, "Come on, come on." You're like, "I'm trying." you know.
Almost, you're right. It's almost his body language is pushing you, like
Yeah.
the band. He's almost rocking his Hammond backwards and forwards as if to say, if you don't bring it, I'm going to push this thing over and charge at you. And that's how he plays on those gigs. I remember I used to go round there sort of once a week, and he introduced me to like Mahavishnu and Colosseum 2, and at the time, I had no idea about any of this music. I'd kind of heard the names, but I'd never heard it. And he was sort of giving me things to play, and really complex runs, and he would never slow it down. No, it's this. What's the first note? And he'd just play it again. And it was almost like, you have to get this now. Kind of like, well, no one slowed it down for me, so why am I going to slow it down for you? And it taught me a bit of a thing of, okay, I better get on this. This is, and I think it's done me a lot of good because it's made me go, right, I can cope. I can cope in stressful rehearsal room situations when things are being thrown at you. You just don't fluster.
Yeah, it's the same. every time Don phones me to do a tour or anything now, I go into full practice mode before, at least 4 weeks before I go on tour, because I just know I couldn't go in now tomorrow morning and go, let's
So
play.
I've got to say on the because I couldn't I wasn't available for one of his tours, and I think that's when you came in, and I think there was a bit of a crossover. And then I don't think you were. I think you played on an album with him. I think it was his third. It was because no, he did K2 first, and then I think he had another. It was his new run of albums, solo albums. I think it was the third one or the second one. There was a song on there, and there was a line that I had to learn of yours, and I swear it must have taken me 3 days to get it so I could play it. It took me 3 days. It was a. I can't remember the name of the song. It was sort of a very Irish sounding
Yeah,
part, but it was so fast. I had to learn it in bits, and I got it down. Every day I come down back into the room, try it again, really slow. I'd be able to play it fine, and then gradually it would get worse and worse, and I have to build it up for days until
really.
I play it consistently. I did the tour 2 weeks after, I couldn't play it again. I just couldn't get it under my fingers.
I'm sorry to do that to you.
It's fine. And then I came to that gig. I think you were playing the Cambridge Rock Festival. I came to see you guys play. And I stood there and watched and heard you play. And I was like, yeah, I'm never going to go back. I'm never going to get a call for this gig again. You were, well, you are incredible. I was like, wow. Because you've just got such a fire about your playing, that's
Well,
okay. I'm going to be careful how I say this because you've got obviously chops for days, but it's not. That's not what I'm hearing. It's just the fire you have when you play. It's just got so much to it.
well,
Anyway,
thank you very much. I feel flattered,
no, honestly, I did, and I can see you were sort of giving it back to Don. I've never given it back to. I remember we used to do. It was I did a tour, and it was Lawrence and Don and Darren, and we were playing Black Knight or something like that. And of course, it's near the end of the set, and everyone in the band gets a solo. And I was so pleased that I got the first solo. I didn't want to follow Don, and I didn't want to follow Lawrence. You know.
I know it's my you say the fire and stuff with me. Again, we are all just like products of our influences really, and
Hmm.
a big influence of mine was always Gary Moore, and there's nobody more aggressive than him, or just has that fire, if you want to call it. So I just, and but a lot of it was to do with the first, as I said, when I stepped into that environment with Dawn and those with Lawrence and Darren, and I realized, I went, okay, I thought I was good. Okay, okay, I need to step this up, and it taught me a lesson, and I understand all the points you're saying about Don. When he shows you like he doesn't slow it down, so it's like, no, it goes like this. You're like, and again, yeah, and again, and he's still playing all day for you, no problem. It's just like, and but it's great for you because it works your ear a lot, and it really makes you think and makes you play with the different notes that are you think it could be or might not be. Uh, but I got there, in the end. But it's still difficult. Like and but so I went home and I just started practicing,
Think, yeah,
stuff. Just try to because I went, what, I need to step it up a bit.
yeah,
Like 'cause when I grew up, I learned all the kind of technique stuff like Satriani, Steve Vai. I
mhm,
grew up. Well, that's the Paul over and all the shred
yeah,
demons, I call them. Um, so I had that under my belt a little bit, but I didn't. Again, it's that whole thing of not doing it every day, and I kind of get out of the way of doing it, and then all of a sudden thrown in this situation where you're required to do some of that, like
yeah.
so. But Yeah, it's funny you mentioned when I mentioned you mentioned that recording thing when they give you the sheet music. Give me 2 seconds. Let me turn my heater off. My heater,
Is
mine's probably but like yours. She's turned the heat on for 5 minutes. It's like,
yeah, it's either on or off. It's yeah, yeah,
yeah,
nightmare.
I'll turn it off. So I'm dying there. But I remember doing that recording session, and he says, "Yeah, I've got this little medley thing I want you to play." And I was like, "Okay, all right, what is it?" And I sat and listened to it, and I just turned around and said to him, "Why are you doing this to me?" Can I not just play an E chord or a few chords or something? No, it was all like, I think part of it was like, the old, I had no clue about how it went or where it went. Again, he done it. I said, "Can you show me it?" Yeah.
Yeah,
And you know what? I love him for it, and I think that's he's been a huge, inspiration. Probably to yourself and probably to me. There's,
absolutely. He knows. I think he knows you can do it, and he's pushing you to do it, and it makes you wonder with all the amazing guitar players he's played with, how much of that stuff is. It is a bit like, step up to the plate. Come on, show me what you got. Not in a like what are your chops like. It's a bit more like what's your energy like. I remember we after one of the gigs one night, when I was on one of his tours, one of the clubs that we're playing in was showing the California Jam, the Purple gig. Is it the Hollywood Jam or whatever it's called, California Jam? But it was it was when when Deep Purple had Coverdale and Glenn Hughes on bass, and you're kind of looking. I looked at the band, the Deep Purple band, and they were all kind of. It's almost like they have this thing amongst them, rather than everyone standing on stage smiling at each other and having a great time. They're almost all pushing each other on to say, "Come on!" And then you've got David Coverdale singing, and then Glenn Hughes walks up to the mic and then sings and sounds incredible. It's a bit there's a bit of pressure going on it within that sort of circle to say this is serious business. It's not, you can't mess about here.
yeah, you know what? I think back then, I think years ago, there was more of a competition, or just players on stage. No matter, it didn't have to be the same discipline. It was the same discipline. Guitar players just hated other guitar players. It's just like,
Yeah, yeah,
But I think it was a competitive thing there on stage. I want to be the best player on stage tonight.
yeah,
No, I want to be the best player. And that, I think that in general just pushes people to be better. Like that's why I try to surround myself with a lot of great musicians these days, because I know they're going to push me.
yeah,
They're not going to let me get away with blue murder. They're going to go, "What do you do?"
yeah,
So I'm like, and that's if I could get one thing across to most musicians is play with better musicians than you.
yes, yeah.
They will always pull you up to their level, eventually, and
And they'll make you sound better. So I completely agree with that. The better the people you're playing with,
yeah,
it's almost like the less you have to do to sound good. Because
yeah, 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 true. It's like when I listen to you guys, you and Paul, isn't it?
Paul and Derek,
I just sit there and I go, you know, I'm doing some sort of like little funk thing in here, and I go, "Yeah, that's great." And I listen to you guys, and you go, "I go, for fuck's sake, what do I have to do that?" But again, it's that thing where you guys are comfortable with each other, but you're always pushing each other, and you maybe feel that, okay, Paul's at a certain level, he's a great,
oh yeah,
amazing player.
mhm.
be there. And it's like, I think once you get to the point of you think, oh, I don't need to play any harder or play any better, that's when you start to go downhill. I think.
Yes. Yeah.
For me, I'm always going, no, I need to be better. I need to be better than what I am. I'm striving for something. I don't know what it is, but I just need to get there. Get something better.
Mm.
And I think good musicians help you to achieve that sort of thing. So
Yeah. I would agree. I would agree. So how is that working out in this current pandemic?
I keep talking to myself on the camera, so it's my alter ego's. He's very nice chap. This guy on the other side of this camera. Going, yeah, I play something, it doesn't say a word. It's like brilliant.
I had a bit of a revelation, not a revelationary thought, but I was kind of realizing, I've been thinking in this last year, all my sessions have become remote. I used to be able to go to a studio and play with other people, and I'm just getting sent things to play on. And what I've realized I'm really missing is I can't now change the. Not that I'm trying. I want to, but nothing I play can dictate how how the track is going to feel differently. The track is there. I can't, I might swing a bit more or I might do something, but everyone else is just going to stay the same because you're not in a room with people to sort of have that interaction to change how something feels. And I just hope it's still there when when we get back to it.
Yeah, that is the big hope. That all aspects of our normal life as musicians it returns. Um, because it's great, doing stuff online and just put it up in Dropbox and there it goes. That's it.
Yeah. Hmm.
But we all need inspiration from somewhere, and
Mm.
sitting in a room every day, the same room you sit in for 12 months of the year,
Yeah.
you get much inspiration from there. Whereas you go into a different studio, your brain starts working differently, and you play with different musicians, and then maybe play something, and you go, oh, that's pretty cool, I could do that. And
Yeah.
so I find it sometimes hard to get a little bit inspired to do that. But yeah, it is. Songs they're just when somebody sends you, that's it. You're just like put the layer on, that's it, and then somebody's going to stick their layer on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the bottom line. It is. But hopefully we get back to the studios and live performances.
It is going to come back. It is going to come back. It's just going to take a bit of time, as we know. But I think it's just keeping yourself match fit so that when you get back out there again
Yeah, would you practice every day or just
every day, I play every day. I don't. I I play every day. I'm not really. There are some things that I'll sort of go through if I'm feeling a bit shoddy on a certain area, but I'm just there's not really. I'm either doing something for myself or I'm doing a YouTube video or something like that, or I'm doing a session for someone. So I'm playing, but I'm not necessarily working on any part of my playing. I don't spend enough time doing I don't really work on my soloing at all. If I do a solo on a track, it's a solo. And when I'm working on a session for someone, I tend to write my solos. So I'll sort of come up with an idea and I'll sort of compose the solo. I've just got into doing that a bit more. But I will I'll look at some things on YouTube and go, actually, I want to work on that a little bit. I'll look at certain players and go, actually, I want to try that out. But that'll only last for a couple of days, and then something else will come up and I'll let it go. How about you? Do you practice every day?
I have two young kids, so my answer is no. I practice for about 6 seconds. No, I'm probably a little bit, probably the same as yourself, man. I do play every day, whether it's teaching people.
Hmm.
I'm lucky enough that I teach people that are a level, they're not beginner level. They're kind of more amateur, stroke professional. So it's a little bit challenging. So certain things I'd have to show them. I'd have to go and read up about the game just to be sure in my head. So it's technically I'm still learning things that way, but that's more of a theory element. What I've kind of get into more and more recently is just finding like different things to throw into my playing. You know, like
Right.
just say for example, I took this mad notion to play the Japanese scale.
Okay.
Don't know why. I just thought I've heard it one day and I went, that sounds really cool. What do I play that on the guitar? You know, steel. I was like, I want to be able to throw it into my playing, and so I've just been playing, doing stuff like that. Maybe take 15 minutes here and there. Go, let's work on that and just jam over it, but not really any sort of practice.
No sort of set structure of practice.
I used to years and years ago when I was like in my I was about 11 right through till I was like 19. I used to practice 8 hours a day, like
Right.
7 days a week. Um,
Yeah.
I can't even think about doing that now.
Yeah. Well, there's no time as an adult. There's no time, is there? You've got
That's
other.
why I was younger guys who are learning guitar. I said, well, when they're in their teens, it's like this is your time to practice. Practice now, because see when you get older, like other things, life gets in the way. As I said, that old saying, life gets in the way. So, it does. You work, yeah, or you're touring or stuff, or
Mm,
like to me all the time. You must get lots of time to practice on the road. And I go, no, I'm usually too tired.
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because on a tour bus, and it's bumping all night.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You don't. And when you stop moving, you need rest.
yeah,
Usually stop in some lay-by somewhere outside a hotel or something, and I need to just stop, need to lay here and not do anything, and conserve your energy for the gig, really. Yeah.
it's interesting though. You saying you're looking at more composing solos. That's um, it's something I get into in the last kind of 5 years. A lot myself is just not going for the usual. Okay, well, here's my pentatonic scale. Don't care what the chords are. Play,
Yeah.
or minor scale, whatever it is. Um, it's more now. I want to see what the chords are because I want to go play different things over each chord.
Yeah.
I use the chords now as my roadmap. That's because, and I guess it's when you look at a lot of the session players like Luther and
Mm.
Guy Carton, from further back, they all did the same thing. They used the chord structure as their kind of roadmaps. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going.
Yeah.
So chords are going. So that's where the solo should go.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing learning experience for me because it's really opened my eyes to the point of going, I can come up with so much better stuff than what I did.
Yeah, because you're not your fingers aren't doing the walking. It's your brain is doing the. Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
brain telling you what to do. Your brain's listening, going, where should this go now? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not just going, it's just all mindless nonsense. And it's just like, yeah, where's the chord progression? Go, no, what can I do over that chord? Okay. Then where does that lead me to? So, yeah, I'm using this more and I'm hearing the notes more and I'm trying to play on the guitar.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting you saying you've been doing that as well. So it's cool. It's the way forward.
The reason I do it is because I can't I can't do that. I have to write it. I can, I kind of, I'll listen to the section that's got the solo on, and I try and hear it as a song. I try and go, okay, I'll try and have my head come up with a melody, and then figure out how to play it, and then put some guitar-y type things in it,
Yeah.
with the articulation and stuff like that. But I, I, it's just how I do it, and obviously I listen to those. Listening to Lucas solos, they're kind of like little songs within themselves. He was just able to, it was almost like he could compose on the spot. I don't know whether he used to do take after take and then piece it together, but it's just how I do. Everyone's got their own way of doing these things, I guess. So
To be honest, the more I read about other players and hear stuff, I, I think a lot of the really, really good players kind of did the same. They kind of just, a lot of it was pre-constructed,
yeah,
so because you don't just, go out and play the solo de Rosanna straight off the cuff. It's like, it doesn't happen, and if there is some stuff he does, and but everything Lukather does is
Yeah.
just go away, so in a good way. But you know, like don't get me wrong, some solos I've done, like some of my records and stuff, and I've walked in the studio and the engineers just hit play, and he says, just play some sort of placeholder, just to get an idea of this, for the song, and I'll just play any other crap that comes into mind, and sometimes they go, that's actually all right. Then I listen back and go, I don't remember playing any of that. That actually sounds quite good. There you go, and that's the take.
Yeah.
But there's other times I'll go in there and there's 30 takes later, I'm still, and then I'll just stop and go to the pub because I'm just done, you know.
That thing where you do the 30 takes and you'll kind of pick the best bits out and comp it and then learn it and play it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's that quite a lot, if I haven't got a first take, I'll just keep playing, just doing the, yeah, or even just, it's good for just ideas, because once you get to the 10th take, you're going,
Yeah.
what? It's so wacky, and then then you start, that's when you really start to
Yeah.
go from the depths of your brain, the ideas.
I always see it, it's part of the song. The solo is part of the song. So it's gonna have to take repeat if you want it to be a popular song. It's gonna have to take repeat listening. So I try and think of it personally. I try and think of it like that, and I'll go, oh, actually, I can play this and I can double this. I'm thinking of the sound as well. Quite often every now and then I'll double solos because of that I like that sound. That sort of Carlos Rios
Yes.
tone. That you used to get. But yeah, it's you do. I think we all grow up with this myth that, oh man, it was just the first take. You know.
Yeah, it's nothing is ever the first take. I always say, even right, say somebody goes into the studio, right, and they play a solo on their own song or something, right?
Yeah.
They've been probably playing that song in the car or something, for a week prior. So they've already sort of pre-constructed it up there anyway.
Yeah.
And they go and say, "Oh, I've improvised," and they go, "They didn't."
Hey. Yeah.
You sort of looked at it and before, not really, thinking about it that much, but because I've done it, I was then, and I realized, no, I've actually been listening to this song for the last week and a half. So I did.
You kind of know you've got a road map of what you want to do. Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. Melody is the key. A solo for me is just another melody of the song. It's like having a bridge section or middle of the song. It's somewhere to take your interest, away from the first chorus section, and the solo. If there's a bridge instead, or if there's solo instead of the bridge section, that's what the solo's job is to do.
Yeah.
Not kill people with shred, which some people do.
Some people do. Some people do.
Yeah, well, not mention Malmsteen, but anyway.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. I sort of missed all that when I was growing up. I kind of my guitar teacher taught me about. It was my second lesson. I was learning about a guy called Alan Murphy, and and then we went from Alan Murphy to Larry Carlton, and then to Steve Lukather, and it was those players that I learnt about first, and
Yeah.
then it was only later when I was sort of like 15, 16 that all of my friends at school going, "You don't listen to Jimi Hendrix?" I was like, well, no, not really. I sort of came to that side of it later on, and then that was when Satriani sort of came out, and who I loved. I thought he was incredible, and but yeah, and then I sort of got to the Malmsteen bit later, um, and then started to lose my hair, and it just all felt wrong. It all felt.
I remember a crossroads in my life, right? So it's a funny one, right?
Yeah.
My dad, he said, okay, two choices. right? He was buying me a CD for my birthday or something, right? And this was a big cross. This is a big, right? Okay, I could have been a completely different player because of this one experience, right? And I mean no disrespect to any players at all right? The two choices were Yngwie Malmsteen or Joe Satriani surfing with the Alien album. It was Rising Force, Yngwie Malmsteen, and this, and I went, I like the cover in Satriani because I was a kid. I was like 11 or something. And I was so glad I went down that road. No disrespect to Yngwie, he's amazing, he does what he does, but nobody does that music
Yeah.
as him, you know. He's just, he's a one-off. Um, so I could have been one of these neoclassical shredders.
We did a gig.